Which is not a good thing.
which is not what we want either.
Okay. Is there anyone here for or against this item? All right. In that case, I make the motion to approve item 2022-378, demolition of dwelling 1105 Forrest Street.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval of the ordinance. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
All right. Next item is 2022-379, ordinance demolition of dwelling 730 West Fairfield Road. I know this one.
This property we had originally inspected in March of 2019. This is not what it looked like in 2019. But we did hold a hearing on April 1st of 2019. We issued an order to repair demolish with a compliance date of May 1st of 2019. The owners contacted the fire department, training division, March 24th, new owners, and fire department agreed to do the burning, and the owners agreed that they would be responsible for cleaning the property. The fire department did complete this burn on November 16th of 2021. We've reached out numerous times to the owners and their representative and advised them that something needed to be done and that we could still take it to city council. They would say, in January, they stated that, Mr. Islam, the owner, in January stated that he was out of the country and he would have his people cleaning up the property. And the inspector also spoke to a realtor on a couple of occasions, and they still have not cleaned it. They were reminded in May again that the property could go to the city council to have the footings removed and the concrete, and they're not delinquent in any Guilford County taxes.
All right. Is there any questions to staff on this item? Anyone here to speak for or against this item? All right, in that case, I make a motion to approve item 2022-379, demolition of dwelling 730 West Fairfield.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of the ordinance. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the ordinance, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously.
All right, next up is a rescind order. Hope it's good news. Item 2022-380 is 1227 Greensboro Road.
And that is a property that we had gotten an ordinance passed for demolition, and the owners did demolish the property themselves, so we're rescinding the ordinance.
Thank you. And in that case, I make the motion to, what do I do?
Rescind.
Just rescind the order?
Yes.
I make
You're
the motion
approving-
to approve the rescinding of the demolition of 1227 Greensboro Road.
Okay, there's a second over here by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion on this motion?
Send them a thank you note.
Okay, all those in favor of approval of the ordinance rescinding the demolition for 1227 Greensboro Road, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
All right, finally is item 2022-381, urgent repair policies. I'll turn that over to Nina.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, and City Manager. The City of High Point was awarded $68,000 through the 2022 Urgent Repair Program cycle through the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. And as part of our post-approval documentation packet, we do have to adopt policies that outline our procurement and disbursement procedures, as well as our assistance policy for our homeowners. And the procurement and disbursement policy outlines for our contractors how we do our bidding and the procedures for that, as well as how they will be paid. And then the assistance policy for our homeowners outlines the eligibility criteria for the program and how the program actually operates and runs. And so we are asking for approval of the URP 22 procurement and disbursement policies and the assistance policy for homeowners. And we are recommending approval and ask that the appropriate city official and/or employee be authorized to execute all necessary documents. Are there any questions?
No questions from council? All right, in that case, I'll make the motion to approve item 2022-382, resolution of intent. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong line. 2022-381, repair policies, urgent repair policies.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval of this item. Is there any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And that's all I got, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. Next there's several planning and development items. First one is a resolution of intent regarding annexation case 22-05. This is just to establish a public hearing date of September 19th to consider a voluntary contiguous annexation petition. For those listening online, this is the proposed annexation site is approximately 18.9 acres located on the west side of NC 68 between Penny Road and Premier Drive. And I make a motion that we approve that resolution of intent. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. We have one annexation case and two zoning map amendments left. And the first one is City of High Point zoning map amendment 22-17. I see Herb Shannon approaching. As always, good to see you, Herb.
Thank you. Good to see you. Herb Shannon, Senior Planner at the City of High Point Planning and Development Department, and I'll be providing a summary of the zoning-related items this evening. Our first item is zoning map amendment 20-17, a request by the City of High Point. This is a continuation of the city's comprehensive zoning map amendment process, where the planning department is systematically going through the city, identifying areas where there's zoning out of sync with its current policy and proposing new zoning. For this evening, we have an area consisting of 60 properties totaling approximately 19 acres located along the north side of East Martin Luther King Jr. Drive along South Scientific Street. And there are three areas that are proposed for rezoning. You have the Westbury subdivision, two undeveloped parcels off of Scientific and Sherrill Avenue, and three parcels along South Scientific. The first area is the Westbury subdivision, located just east of South Scientific Street. The second area are two undeveloped lots off of Scientific Street, and that third area also some lots along South Scientific Street. Regarding the Westbury subdivision, this 1.8 acre area was initially approved for rezoning in 1986 for a cluster subdivision. That form of development type allows smaller lot size in return for open space areas. With the adoption of the 1992 development ordinance, that use type was removed as it was determined that it wasn't working, and now for that type of development, a special use permit is required. But the adoption of the 1992 ordinance made those homes out there non-conforming. Staff is recommending removing the conditional use R5 zoning as the conditions as far as second access point and permanent landscaping has been met. And we're recommending rezoning to the R7 district. The R7 district is typically applied and reserved for lands within the core city area for redevelopment, but staff is recommending it be applied for this subdivision to bring those lots more into conformance with the standard requirements. Under the current R5, almost all the lots are not meeting setback standards. Rezoning to the R7 district will bring them closer into conformance in case there's a situation where a structure needs to rebuild. Staff did send out early notices to these property owners last summer, along with the regular notices for this current zoning request. The second area, these two lots off of South Scientific, they were originally one large parcel. They have been subdivided and now under two separate ownerships. They were initially rezoned in 1994 for a multifamily development. That never happened, and the zoning conditions pertaining to density and access requirements are no longer required. The surrounding multifamily developments did not have any density restrictions, so staff is of the opinion that there should not be any restrictions on this site. And as far as access, the development ordinance now governs the location and number of access points, so those conditions are no longer required, and staff is just recommending that it be rezoned to RM16, remove the conditional use designation. In the final area, lots along South Scientific, 822 through 904. These areas were rezoned in 1993 and 1989 for proposed commercial development. That development never took place and land has been sold since then. Staff is recommending for 826, 900, 902, and 904 that it be rezoned from conditional use limited business to the R5. There's R5 zoning on both sides to the behind it and across the street. But for the parcel to the north, 822, the parcel split zone, the northern portion of this lot has an RM16 zoning. The southern portion is conditional zoning limited business. You can see a small sliver of the southern portion of that lot has a different zoning. So staff is recommending that it be rezoned to the RM16 district so that the total parcel is governed by one zoning district. These requests were reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their July public hearing. The commission recommended approval by a vote of 7-0, and they stated that the request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because the zoning map amendment is supported by goal number 1 of the land use plan, which speaks to encouraging development that enhances and preserves neighborhoods. And they determined the request is reasonable and in the public interest as it matches the manner in which these neighborhoods have developed. That's a quick summary. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Chan. Okay, public hearing is open. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for or against this item? Okay, seeing no one, I will make a motion to approve this item, and I will adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Oh, and I will close the public hearing. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval of the item. Any discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously. All right, next we have, I think, a zoning case and an annexation case and an accompanying zoning map amendment. Is that right?
Yes.
This is item 2022-384 and 385.
Yes, these items are related, so staff will provide you with a combined presentation, but you will have to vote on them separately. They pertain to land at the southwest portion of the city's planning area, consisting of multiple parcels generally located southeast of the intersection of National Highway and Garcia Kennedy Road, west of the intersection of Grickler Street and Meridian Avenue, and west of South Road. The applicant's requesting annexation and expansion of city zoning to support an industrial development. Most of this site is within Davidson County, but this is located near the Davidson and Randolph County lines. That is the Davidson County line, and that is the Randolph County line. As you can see, this is a portion where the city boundary does extend out of Guilford County into those abutting counties. As a courtesy, staff contacted the city of Thomasville to ensure they had no objections to annexation that abuts up next to their city limits. There was no objections, and their city council passed a resolution supporting this request. And because this is in Davidson County, the applicant had a resolution approved from Davidson County also supporting the annexation. As this area abuts the city's existing city limits and is part of our planning area, this is a logical progression of the city's annexation boundaries. There are already city vehicles that serve this area, and staff is in support of this request, and it will not negatively impact the city's ability to provide services to this area. In regards to the rezoning, the applicant's requesting rezoning to support an industrial development. At build-out, they're looking at potentially up to 1.1 million square feet for a business and industrial park. They have requested rezoning to the conditional zoning heavy industrial district. Right now, there's a mixture of different county zonings in this area. You have heavy industrial, conditional use light industrial, and rural agricultural in Davidson County, light industrial in Randolph County, and a portion of the site is within the city of High Point is zoned heavy industrial. The land use plan does designate this area for a combination of light industrial and heavy industrial. The area just west of the Davidson County line, our land use plan has designated for light industrial, but you can see a large area east of that Guilford-Davidson County line is currently designated for heavy industrial and has developed as such. There is a wide variety of industrial uses in this area. The applicant has included with this request a conditional zoning ordinance where they have offered conditions regarding access and also prohibited uses. The City of High Point's heavy industrial district can allow some noxious uses that can have impacts on adjacent lands. To mitigate those issues, the applicant has offered to prohibit certain uses that could have a negative impact on adjacent property owners, such as asphalt plants, landfills, trash transfer stations, hazardous waste disposal, and toxic chemical and fertilizer manufacturing. Except for allowing major manufacturing, the uses that are allowed are very similar to what could be developed in the light industrial zoning district. Key points to note from the staff analysis: this is a concept plan the applicant has submitted as how the site could be laid out. There are quite a few environmental features that they will be working around, but adjacent lands are zoned or developed to support a variety of industrial uses, and as conditioned, the request will not introduce any uses that are not already permitted or allowed in this area. To mitigate impacts to adjacent property owners, the applicant has offered to provide higher landscaping standards where the property abuts Grickler Street, as there are adjacent residential subdivisions near their area. They've also have conditions regarding access and higher landscaping next to Grickler Street to help screen future development from the adjacent residential neighborhood. There is one access point proposed from National Highway, 2 access points proposed from South Road. The applicant has conducted a traffic impact analysis that was reviewed by the City Transportation Department, and the access conditions were based upon that review of their traffic impact analysis. Regarding Grickler Street, no access is permitted there for the general public. There is a provision for of an emergency access point, just so in case there is any type of incident, our public service, fire and police have alternate ways into the development. And also in this area, that is where they're proposing higher landscaping to help visually screen industrial activities from the adjacent residential neighborhood. Based on the conditions that the applicant has offered, staff is recommending approval of this request. The Planning and Zoning Commission did review this request at their July meeting and recommended approval by a vote of 7-0. The Commission stated that the request is consistent with adopted policy guidance. They noted that based upon the manner in which it's conditioned, the proposed CZHI district supports the development appropriate for this area and that it does not conflict with adopted policy guidance. They also stated that the request is reasonable and in the public interest. As conditioned, the requested CZHI district excludes the most impactful uses and is compatible with the light industrial land use designation that covers the majority of the site. And the request is supported by the goals and objectives of the land use plan and the Northeast Davidson area plan. That is a brief summary of this request, annexation and rezoning. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Any questions?
I have just one clarification. If you go back one slide, the piece that's on the southwest corner, I'm assuming they're not annexing that part.
That is not part of this annexation request. That was just part of their master plan that they took into consideration when doing their traffic impact analysis.
Okay.
That area would most likely be annexed by the City of Thomasville.
Right, it's already.
Anyone else? Questions? Thank you, Ms. Shannon. Okay, public hearing's open. We'll now hear from the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Judy Stalder, 3735 Admiral Drive in High Point, and also here is the developer Hunter Oglesby. You may know that this development's already had plenty of reviews. The Davidson County Commissioners not only approved this for annexation to High Point unanimously, but also encouraged and supported it for economic development for both Davidson County and High Point. The City of Thomasville has approved it. A portion of the development that Councilman Hudson pointed out cannot be annexed into High Point was reviewed and unanimously approved for industrial zoning by the Davidson County Planning Board and Davidson County Board of Commissioners. And the High Point Technical Review Committee has reviewed our site plan, and we've talked about what we need to do there. So I want to talk a little bit about the site. South Road Industrial Park is made up of many smaller parcels that'll come together under one zoning to create one premier development in High Point. The topography is rough and it's crossed by several streams. And by creating this integrated development, we'll be able to protect those environmentally sensitive areas. And although the land use plan designated this area as light industrial, there are industrial uses on all sides of it, and this area has typically been seen as appropriate for heavy industrial. Most of the site is already zoned for heavy industrial, 105 of the 141 acres. But the developer did want to partner with your staff to craft zoning conditions that are consistent with the land use plan, and you heard Mr. Shannon describe those. First, making it a not so heavy industrial district by prohibiting some of the uses, protecting the adjacent residential uses, and the arrangement of the buildings will do that in addition to the prohibited access on Grickler Street and the additional landscaping. Just arranging the buildings to avoid the environmentally sensitive areas makes it a more open development and makes it more compatible with nearby residential uses. And then, of course, the mitigation of traffic. We had a full traffic impact analysis done, and the results are part of the conditions. As part of the process, there was one more review. We had a Zoom meeting with the neighbors in the area. The property owners attending the Zoom meeting, mostly had property on National Highway that was already zoned commercial industrial, and they just wanted to see how their property would be affected by any development that we did. By the end of the meeting, we realized that nobody in that meeting was opposed to the request. After the meeting, we had an adjacent property owner on South Road call, Marquee Seating. They wanted to start talking about leasing property in the development, which proves the need for new and better updated industrial buildings in that area. And then we had one Grickler Street resident that called, wanted to make sure his property was not being rezoned, and he was fine with the development plan and with the additional landscaping on Grickler Street. In conclusion, this rezoning will allow the developer to provide a high-quality shared infrastructure, including the road improvements and water and sewer utilities. It allows protecting the environmentally sensitive areas, protecting nearby residential uses, and promoting economic investment in that area. So we ask for your approval. And Mr. Oglesby and I are here to answer your questions.
Are there any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I just want to say thank you to both of you, and thank you, Mr. Oglesby, for your investment in our city. I think that that's a great area that could use an industrial park and provide a lot of jobs to folks that need it, and a great gateway between us and Thomasville. So thank you for your investment.
Absolutely, I completely agree. We're excited to get started.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak against or in favor of this? The public hearing is open. Okay. Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing, and I'll make a motion for approval of the annexation case. Let me make sure I get that number right. Annexation case 22-04. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion or comments on the
I'd
annexation?
like to also, like Councilmember Peters said, thank you. Great development. This is the stuff we like seeing. You've worked well with staff. We really appreciate what you've done for the city.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out if we can ever be of support in any ways to help it kind of move forward.
Yeah, with 146 acres, we should be pushing up on 56 square miles of High Point pretty soon.
That's right, that's right, that's right. Anyone else? Okay. The motion and second is for approval of the annexation case 22-04. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Next, I'll make a motion for approval of zoning map amendment 22-18, and I will state that, that I adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, that motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the zoning case? Any questions? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, that brings to an end our hearings and planning and development items. Only thing we have under general business are some minutes to be approved. Anyone have any questions, deletions, changes to the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the minutes as stated. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion passes. Anything else before we adjourn? I have one announcement. If you hadn't gotten your tickets, Taste of the Town is tomorrow night at the stadium. It'll be really cool. First time they've ever had it at the at Truist Point. So if you hadn't gotten your tickets, I think you can buy them at the door. But it's a great event for hospice, and you get to try all the restaurants you haven't had a chance to try yet. So go out and support that.
What's the time on that?
I don't remember exactly when it starts. It's around dinner time.
6.
And they normally have really good raffle items too.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
they usually have good
Yeah.
raffle items, and hopefully the weather will hold off. But even if it doesn't, we're under a cover,
Absolutely.
so we're good to go. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that motion has been seconded. Anything else before we adjourn? All right, all in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we're now adjourned.